Hello, welcome to PODnas. This is a sports show with a little Southern and Cajun flair. I'm Daniel Hawks. That's Jared Roser. Today, we are going to preview the rest of the Louisiana schools. We've already done a Saints preview. We've done an LSU preview for their upcoming season, but we want to make sure that we hit Tulane, we hit ULM, and La Tech. We're going to go over kind of what to expect for their seasons. Jarrett, how you doing today? You ready to get to some football?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I mean, as we record this Wednesday, August 20th, I will be getting out to my first high school scrimmage later tonight. I've been just doing a lot of behind the scenes work and whatnot for the first bulk of August. And now it is, I mean, it's real deal football season.
When does that high school start? When does high school kick off?
Actual like week one regular season of high school doesn't start until that first full weekend of September. So a week after week one of the college season, the same schedule as the NFL and everything.
Is high school back in session there? Because like in Illinois, they went back this week.
They've been back, actually. It starts like early August for the Louisiana high schools. And so
because Louisiana gets a couple extra times off with the Mardi Gras thing that doesn't happen anywhere else.
And I think our guys and girls, I mean, I think our kids get out maybe a little bit earlier for the summer. It's like a lot of the breaks are different for around the country, you know, dealing with different weather dynamics to where you guys maybe need a little bit of a different winter break, and we want our kids out of there so they're not ACing everybody into June or whatever.
Yeah, listen, and that's what we really come on here to do, is to talk about the state of schools in Illinois and Louisiana. So let's get to what we're here for, which is still actually technically is the state of a school. So we're going to go with Tulane first. Tulane is coming off of I would say a good year, but a year where they had expectations in 2024 that maybe were a little bit higher that they didn't reach. They're going to have to figure out what they're doing this year with Darian Mensah having left for Duke. So let's kind of get into that. What were some things that you kind of saw about this Tulane team, or that you've heard about this Tulane team, and kind of what are your expectations for them going into the season? And then maybe we'll just end with giving a little light prediction of what you think their record's going to be.
You mentioned maybe falling a little short of high expectations a year ago. And I think for Tulane, the fact that we're even talking about the program in that way is such a positive sign of the growth of where that program is, because they now have the past few seasons. They went back-to-back 10-win seasons with 12 wins and 11 wins under the last two seasons under Coach Fritz. Summerall comes in first year. They're a 9-win team, really had a chance where they were being talked about as a potential, playoff team out of the group of five if Boise had slipped up, or if Tulane doesn't let that Thanksgiving game get away from them against Memphis. And so the fact that you have a coaching change, you have a guy like Michael Pratt that was so huge at quarterback for the years that he was uptown, all these changes, and you're still in that type of a conversation last year where you have a 9-win season and you're disappointed about it in a lot of ways to wrap it up, I think says a lot about just the trajectory of the program. And then now you're really going to get a sense this year of, okay, it's your second year under a new coach. It's going to be your third different starting quarterback in a 3-year span. You've got a lot of changes on that roster because of the transfer portal and graduations and everything, beyond just Mensah, who obviously that hurts. Mekhi Hughes, the running back who heads off to Oregon, that hurts. And you have some examples like that all over the roster, but the expectations remain really high for this team. They went and found some guys to bring in that they're really excited about. And I think even into the back half of August, we have some position battles still figuring themselves out, but there's still a lot of talent uptown, and again, high expectations in a consistent way now, year in, year out, that we have not historically seen for this program. And so I think that's exciting, just kind of where you are, status check of the program as a whole, and we'll see how it plays out over these next couple months.
Absolutely. And their schedule is front loaded with all of their non-conference games. So they're going to start out with Northwestern. Chicago is actually coming down to New Orleans. We can get into another team coming up to Chicago later, maybe a little teaser. And then also they are going to have Darian Mensah come back in town that week 3. I think it's a good game. Duke is coming into ULM Stadium, and listen, I really liked Darian Mensah last year. I thought he was great.
Good, man.
But I wish Duke loses everything, and I hope they do. So, but honestly, I think not so much the Northwestern game. Has this game on September 13th, followed by a game at Ole Miss. If Tulane does want to be in that playoff picture, they have to win one of those 2 games. I think Northwestern might also be a little bit stickier too. Some people realize they got their quarterback Preston Stone, who's actually on preseason Unitas Arm list, Johnny Unitas Award list. So they've got a good arm in there. They also play Oregon the very next week. So I feel like there could be a chance for maybe Tulane to kind of, I don't want to say overlooked, because I think both those kind of programs may be around the same, even though Tulane is in the American, obviously Northwestern in the Big Ten. But when you've got such a big name coming into town the next weekend, I think it's super easy for human beings, kids, to maybe overlook that, maybe look past the next week. So it could be a really good way. They could be starting off 2-0 going into this Duke and Ole Miss run. If they can get one of those, I still don't think, for the most part, that I think that Tulane is probably the best team in the American. Just kind of looking through stuff. Obviously that loss to Memphis last year wasn't great, but I just think this, like you said, kind of program is positioned to win, especially in the American League, and win most of their games. So I had them finishing at 9-3. I did have them dropping those 3 games that I just kind of talked about that they needed to drop, but that was my peg at the end. I have them winning everything else, but those little bit bigger games where they're going to be on ESPN2, not on the Plus or on one of the other ancillary networks. I have them maybe coming short with a loss and for Northwestern and Duke, and I just don't think they'll have the stuff to keep with Ole Miss in Oxford.
Yeah, we talk about Tulane obviously having to replace some key pieces, and I think that's a situation that the bulk of the American Athletic Conference has to deal with this year, and so they're not alone in that. I mean, that's college football in general at this point. Yeah. You're having to adjust yourself on the fly roster wise, and so I don't think anyone in the American is feeling sorry for Tulane right now. I think Tulane is certainly capable of winning, if not going to be favored in all of their conference games. And so I think a lot of the conversation, you mentioned that back-to-back week dynamic of Duke and Ole Miss, is not unlike what we talked about last year at this time, where you were going to have a Kansas State game at home and then an Oklahoma road trip in back-to-back weeks, and you needed to split those in order to put yourself in a potential playoff position. And I think there's some similarities there. You talk about the status of Tulane and realizing it's a different Tulane program. I don't pay, honestly, as much attention to some of the betting lines as I would like, but I feel like I saw at some point Tulane like a 2.5 point favorite going up to Northwestern, which says quite a bit if that's the case, of even being in the mix where you're close to even money, but certainly if you're favored to go on the road.
Well, yeah, and Northwestern's actually coming down too, so
they'll be. Oh yeah, my bad. I was thinking about the ULM game.
No, I was just happy.
Yeah,
I was just really happy that I get to correct you for a mistake for a while.
Yeah.
Usually this is very flip-flopped.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. That's my place.
I think we see a lot of examples of just where Tulane has built itself to as a program. The fact that teams like Northwestern and Duke are coming to New Orleans to play road games against Tulane. Ole Miss was here a couple of seasons ago, Kansas State obviously last season. And the game that I had a chance to watch, Tulane and Ole Miss in person a couple of years back, Tulane matched up really effectively in the trenches against Ole Miss. And if they had their starting quarterback, Michael Pratt, who I mentioned before, if he had been healthy, I think that's a different ball game than it ends up being down the stretch. And so this Tulane program continues to show itself as kind of a consistent, real deal in the conference and beyond, someone that you need to be aware of, at least on the national scale. I do think that Tulane takes care of business to start the season against Northwestern and kind of set some things in positive motion. I think they're capable of beating this Duke team, and we'll see how it goes. I'm glad that that one is in ULM and not a trip up there to Duke. The Ole Miss game is going to be tough. I think Ole Miss is a playoff caliber team this year. Once again, that they're going to be someone that's fighting for one of those spots. But most of this schedule, even with some uncertainty still of how exactly some of those final position battles fall into place, and us waiting to see some guys really step up, I have enough confidence in Tulane to think that they're in that mix as a 9 or 10 win team again this year, and someone that we're talking about in a big way in November.
Now, you talked about some of those position competitions. Can we go into kind of who and what positions are kind of being battled for right now, and who's kind of the favorite and the leaders?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at so much turnover all over the place, and obviously it starts at quarterback where you have to replace Mensa and you bring in transfer quarterback after transfer quarterback all over the place. And we talked recently about Jake Retzlaff from BYU, but Brendan Sullivan came down from Iowa and was having a nice offseason ramping up to the season. He's been dealing with a leg injury here recently. And it sounds like Jake had a nice second scrimmage in Brendan's absence and maybe kind of better positioned himself in some of, as all these guys jockey for positions. Those have been kind of two of the names that have been the headliners as the season approaches. But, I'm not sure what the timeline is for Brendan coming back fully healthy, where he's at, or what the expectations are for his timeline. And I'm not sure that we have a definitive, here's the starting quarterback, and that's going to be the guy for all 12 games and beyond answer just yet. Then again, this time last year, we had kind of gotten the sense that, okay, Darren Mentz is going to start the opener, but you were still waiting to see how it actually played out. And we saw how well that played out. So despite some uncertainty there, I know there is confidence in what these guys bring to the table. Very different quarterbacks, different athletes. And so we'll kind of see how it goes once it gets there. But I know there's confidence in that room. And then I mentioned before, when you have to replace a guy like Mekhi Hughes at running back that had been huge for them the last couple of years, as he 2 years ago as a freshman really took a hold of that position and ran with it coming out of a running back battle. Arnold Barnes, a local kid out of New Orleans, Booker T. Washington, is someone that I'm looking at for kind of a breakout season. Maybe he has the chance now after a couple of years in the program to take it and run with it and become a lead back. But he, like many other positions, wide receivers, interesting. You got guys jockeying for position. Some of the defensive backs, particularly at the cornerback position, how are those guys coming along? It's going to be interesting these first couple of weeks.
Yeah, because they lost a bunch of people in the secondary, right? After last year, like there were like 5 or 6 guys that aren't there anymore. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Bailey Despani is going to be a guy that you look at as much of a certainty, a veteran that's been there for a while that you can rely on. And then I know I'm going to mispronounce Jack's last name, but Jack Chinchu, who was great in his first year, first year of notable playing time at safety. And so he's come along. You feel really strong about him. He had some big plays through the course of last year, but the corners are new. You look at a guy who I love and think he's a breakout guy on the defensive side, Javion White, who's going to play more of their kind of like hybrid. They call it the spear position. He's someone out of Franklin Parish that I think is super talented and going to take this opportunity and run with it. But the cornerbacks and then that spear spot are all kind of new faces and bigger roles. That'll be interesting to see how they come along as well. But
we love
for
the
me,
Goldberg spot. I'm calling it the Goldberg spot now.
I have a lot of confidence, and this is going to be kind of a theme as we continue to go program to program through the course of this conversation. I have a lot of confidence in most of these defenses of the Louisiana programs this season. And then you have reasons for optimism on offense, but you're just waiting to see how it comes together early in the season. And I think Tulane is a great place for us to start both obviously because of the success they've had in recent years and the expectations this year. But some of those conversations that we're having right now are going to look kind of similar to some of these other programs as well, where it's like, okay, this guy has a chance. They have a chance to be good on offense, but we need to see it through these first couple of weeks.
Yeah. Do you have a prediction for the Green Wave?
Yeah, like I said, I think they're a 9 or 10 win team in the regular season. I have trouble with that Ole Miss game. That would be a big one if they could go win it, but I'm not predicting it. I do think they take care of business at Northwestern. Duke is going to be a swing game to me for all of the reasons that we said previously. And then you just hope that you can avoid what we've seen in some of these recent seasons where you have some great wins, but then you let one get away you feel like you shouldn't have. And so I think 9-3, which you said is kind of the safe bet there, but I think they're certainly capable of a little bit more. It's just tough to get overly confident and say this is a team that's going to go win 10 or 11 until we actually see how some of these first couple of weeks go.
Absolutely. It is nice for them that they get those out of conference or those tougher games at the beginning. So maybe they can build some momentum if they're able to go through the American like that and still possibly position themselves, to be in that talk for the playoff spot, which is, I think, probably the goal. At least from the outside looking in, that they want to be jockeying for that non-power 4 position in the playoff.
They absolutely. I mean, that's been their mentality since the last couple years under Coach Fritz and company. Before he headed off to Houston, there's a lot of confidence in that building, and rightfully so. They've gotten some really good investment, from the community and in this new NIL era where they feel like they can be a really competitive, certainly group of 5 team, and that there's a chance, as we continue to watch the landscape continue to shift, do they become a team that gets a power 4 opportunity here sooner than later? But they'll take things and try to be pretty focused on, this week is this week, and let's be 1-0 and take care of our business and not let it become bigger than it needs to be. Just let some of those chips fall as they may if you take care of your business. But they think they can play with anybody in the country, and they've proven it in some instances that they're kind of getting into that ballpark.
Absolutely. Well, good luck, Green Wave. Let's move on. We're going to the next one. University of Louisiana at Lafayette, or Louisiana University, as sometimes they like to be called. The Ragin' Cajuns.
Before we even got started talking about the whole school schedule and when the high school games start and all of that, one of my first reactions was when you said ULL at the beginning. I was like, well, we can look forward to hearing about that pretty quickly. That's going to come back swiftly. Cajuns. I try to just say Cajuns on all references because look, because of the other programs around the state, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, regardless of what you say.
If you're going to get mad at me about that, thanks for watching. That's all I'm going to say. That's fine. But let's kind of talk about, because UL also has some names that are coming in there as a transfer in there, or kind of, which I feel like is going to be the theme with a lot of these schools unfortunately from smaller conferences and things like that. A lot of their kids are getting plucked by these bigger universities. But ULL does have a transfer coming in at quarterback. Should be starting Walker Howard. What do you see with this UL team? How do you see them playing out in the Sun Belt? I know they are favored to win at least their division in the Sun Belt Conference. So they're also another team with, I would say, higher championship type expectations coming into this year.
Yeah, this is a team that as much as we've started to get accustomed to talking about, can Tulane be a group of 5 playoff participant these last couple of years? The Cajuns were in that conversation in November last year as well, and they end up with a 10-win season after all is said and done, despite having to battle quarterback injuries through the course of the season, where suddenly you're in a conference championship game and both of your veterans are hurt and you've got a young guy getting thrown into the fire unexpectedly and trying his damnedest to hold his own, showing some flashes, but just against a Marshall team that was pinned back and really playing its ass off that night. And I think the Cajuns, similarly to what we just talked about with Tulane, are a team that they have key pieces to replace, including that quarterback spot. But there is a level of expectation now, kind of year in, year out, that you're at least competing for your Sun Belt Division championship and an opportunity to go play for the Sun Belt title outright in the conference championship game, and then let those chips fall as they may, and maybe you become someone that's being talked about in a playoff picture down the stretch, but certainly a good bowl picture and all of those things. One benefit the Cajuns have that is a little bit different from what we talked about with Tulane a second ago is the Cajuns have this two-headed monster at running back with Zylan Perry and Elijah Bill Davis, who, two local Louisiana guys out of Franklin Senior High and Riverside Academy that have really come on the last couple of years. You've seen those flashes. You've seen them step up in some bigger moments at times last year, and now they're the guys back there. I think both earned preseason all-conference recognitions. And so between those guys and then an offensive line that was really deep last year and now has the benefit of guys with experience and some guys that their teammates and coaches have a lot of confidence in, all being back, all around Walker Howard, the native son of Lafayette, the former STM star and LSU signee, who has made his way around and now comes back home and appears to be poised to take the reins of this offense. He's got pieces around him that he can kind of work with. Shelton Sampson, another former LSU signee from Catholic Baton Rouge, a big transfer addition for those guys this offseason, along with some returning standouts at that receiver spot. And so I think you have a little bit better of a sense of who's where on offense for this team, and a defense that comes back with some expectations as well.
Yeah. I was just listening to you. I got kind of caught up in it. That was nice.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been fortunate the last couple of years since just like different job changes, role changes. I've had a chance to be around the Cajuns and Green Wave a little bit more the last 2 or 3 years than I had traditionally, and I've really enjoyed that. I love what both of those staffs are doing, and I mean, it's been really fun to watch those programs get to where they are now. And so I'm excited just talking about these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of their out of conference games is in one of my favorite, I wouldn't say my favorite places, but I like saying the name of the town, Eastern Michigan. And they're going to have to go up to Ypsilanti, Michigan.
Is it Yips
I
or is
said
it?
I have no clue. I guess. I think it's Ypsilanti. Yipsy. But I mean, I'm not as well versed on the Cajuns as you are, besides what I did with my little research, and you took my note that their running back attack is going to be really strong. So I'm kind of excited to see what this team can do this year with that running attack, with the way when you have a running attack like that you can control the clock, you can control the ball. So it'll be fun to see the staff out. I would say around 7 or 8 wins is what I would probably look at for this. I just think there's more of an opportunity to kind of drop a game here or there, especially, because they do have a bunch of, while they are not heavy, big conference games, they do have to go out of town a bit, or at least half of those first 5 games. So going to Missouri, then going immediately to Eastern Michigan. I think when you have those back-to-back away games, I know you get to come home for a week, but it just kind of is, it's kind of rough going 2 places 2 weeks in a row, especially when they're not necessarily close or down the road. It's not like you're just going to Monroe to play a game or something like that. So,
yeah. It looks like the over-under for the Cajuns is 7.5, at least what's kind of pulling up for me online pretty quickly. It's the first time I've looked at it. I would take the over on that. I mean, going up to Missouri, an SEC team, is going to be tough. Having to go to James Madison is a conference game that you have to feel confident in your ability to beat anyone in this conference if you're being looked at as a potential divisional champion. But would certainly love that one to be at Cajun Field and not up there at James Madison. I mentioned kind of a swing stretch. We talked about those 2 Power 4 games back to back for Tulane. I think the back to back road trips to Troy and to South Alabama to end October and begin November is kind of a big stretch to me. All these games are big. Obviously, it's college football. Anyone can lose on any given Saturday, but and anyone can win on any given Saturday. But those 2 games, I think, how you come out of those is going to feel to me like a really pivotal stretch in this season. But I would take the Cajuns to go be an 8 or 9 win regular season team this year, and maybe that's being a little close to it, a little homer to it or whatever. But I just have a lot of confidence in the direction these guys are headed.
Have you seen? I read that they did a lot of work to the stadium and the field. Have you seen it? Is it nice? Is it cool?
So they just this week actually, I think, did some kind of tours, took some media members through there a little bit to see some more of kind of the latest additions to it. And I didn't get a chance to go out there for that. But even being out there this summer for some recruiting camp and high school 7-on-7 stuff, how built up the press box side of the stadium is compared to what it once was and whatnot. Some of the Cajuns coaches were kind of saying, hey man, look, when you're shooting this high school 7-on-7, make sure you get that nice new backdrop there behind what they're doing. Cause they're definitely really proud of, we talk about the trajectory and the building process of some of these programs. That has to be in college football, not just on the field and roster stuff, but from a facilities race, you have to continue to kind of keep up and take those next steps. And so it's super exciting right now in Lafayette and Uptown that we just talked about to see some of the direction that the programs are taking in terms of just supporting these programs, supporting these student athletes. And I mean, it's going to be really fun to get back out there here shortly and get a better look at just what some of the latest is. Cause I haven't been on the athletic footprint of campus since late June or early July. I was out in Lafayette this week and was kind of on campus, but wasn't over there by Cajun Field, at least not out of the car. Yeah.
Well, good luck, Cajuns. Good luck, Louisiana University. University of Louisiana.
At Lafayette. They're what? Oh, okay. I was gonna say they're winning you over right now.
Oh no! Sincerely, good luck. I spent 2 or 3 years in Lafayette. I loved it down there. So, way to go! Let's go, Cajuns! Raging. Do they still do this, or is this not?
I think so.
Because that was my favorite thing. I did that all the time. I still do it.
Sadly, and I need to just get better about this. I get so tunnel visioned and in my head about the actual sports of it all for all of these college games and whatnot that I can be super prone to miss the fun pageantry fan stuff that's all going on. And just, it'll take me a while sometimes to realize, oh, this is a thing I probably have seen for the last couple weeks or last couple years and have just not really put it together because I'm thinking about what I'm about to have to write that day or whatever it may be.
That's why I'm here. Okay. I can bring that vibe.
The pageantry.
Yes. I'm here for the pageantry and the showmanship. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. We're going to go to ULM, University of Louisiana Monroe. They had a rough year last year.
Here's the thing. They had a great start to last year, and then the wheels just fell off down the stretch in conference.
So can the Warhawks keep that momentum going? I actually did look up the win total for them, and it is 4.5 right now, I think, on DraftKings. So it's not a big one, but that's a low bar for you to get to. So hopefully they can turn this kind of ship around. I know they're bringing back a quarterback who had a very Jameis Light type season last year. He was a freshman, but it was a 10-10. It was that perfect 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. So you got to take care of the ball better. I think that's got to be a point of emphasis in making sure that you're not giving the ball away, because that's almost one time a game there's an interception. If we're going by averages. So
And last year you had the benefit of Ahmad Hardy at running back had a phenomenal season. And so last year when we started to kind of talk about the Warhawks more and more as the season went on last year, they were this traditional kind of throwback, run the ball effectively, play defense, come away with some timely takeaways. And that's how they were getting some of those wins. The passing game was just, don't limit those mistakes as best as you can. And now Ahmad is at Missouri and will be playing part of hosting the Cajuns for an SEC team, kind of springboarding off of his great breakout season last year. And so watching what this offense looks like and who's ready to step up, and can you see a step forward at quarterback and a step forward with the passing game? Do you have someone ready to fill shoes as big as Ahmad had kind of proven himself to be last year? It's going to be an interesting year up there in Northeast Louisiana.
Yeah. They are also playing Northwestern, by the way. This one is at Northwestern.
Yeah.
Jared
that's the one you pitched me on.
Yeah, he's going to come and he's going to come to that game. He already said it. We, don't listen to what he says, but he said it off air. But he was definitely coming to that game, and that he was.
Y'all know better than to listen to this dude right now.
No, he's totally going to come up for it. He's actually just going to stay. He's going to start covering Northwestern for the rest of the season after that game. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It would be a shock to me if ULM can stay within 35 of Alabama. That is obviously the biggest game on their schedule. Outside of that, they're in this Sun Belt as well, so they're not predicted to finish as well as ULL, even in the slightest. But I think if outside of that Alabama game, if they can show some promise leading into the season, there's no reason to think that, and I'm just going off this 4.5 games, that they could get to bowl eligible at 6 games, which is you would love to see. I think progress is the name of the game of what you're trying to look for this year with this ULM squad.
I'm not seeing them getting to bowl eligible this year, but I say that fully recognizing that we didn't think they were going to have the start of the season they had last year where they were in that conversation. I think Bryant Vincent did a great job coming in and kind of really igniting something there in terms of a level of belief and passion that hadn't really been the case for that program in quite a while. And so there are reasons to have some confidence in him and the direction that he and his staff are trying to take this program. And like we said, when we talked about the Cajuns, and I guess the Tulane and the Cajuns, all of these teams around the conference have to deal with losses. If you have a great player, it's tough to hang on to them. And certainly, if you have a few great players, it's tough to hang on to all of them just in the modern landscape of college athletics. And so while ULM has to replace some guys that graduated and some guys that hit the transfer portal, so do a lot of these teams that you're matched up against, everybody to some degree. And so you saw ULM be far more competitive in the Sun Belt last year than what we had recently been talking about them being the case. And as much as I'm worried that they take a little bit of a step back in terms of win total, and maybe it ends up being a 3 or 4 win season, there are reasons and factors for fans to be optimistic about and go and prove people like me or people like us wrong, just as they did in a lot of situations last year.
Hey, I said they were getting to a bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think both this ULM team and when we're about to talk La Tech is can they kind of take that step forward? And we'll actually get into La Tech right now. Sonny Cumbie is still looking for his first winning season since taking over in 2022. Unfortunately, it's just the way that things go. I don't think if he doesn't do it this year, I think that the seat could be hot to the point of firing. Without a better way to say that. I do think one really good thing that when I was kind of just looking at the stats, Bullock, the quarterback, when we were just talking about that
Mhm.
touchdown to interception ratio, I mean, he threw for over 2,000 yards. It was 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Like, that's a really promising sign to see from a young kid. So maybe this is the year that kind of happens. Being in that second year in the same system with the same kind of coaching staff, like that can only help you get better. Do you think that Bullock is the kind of quarterback that could lead this team? Again, I'm just looking at maybe getting to a winning season or bowl eligible, something like that for this Bulldogs team.
Yeah, this is a team that last year, and again, a lot of the conversation for a lot of these teams have some similarities in the sense of the defense was strong and returns a good amount, and you're waiting to see what kind of step the offense can take. The defense for Louisiana Tech was one of the better defenses in Conference USA last year. You saw a team that after 3 straight 3-win seasons ended up with a 5-win year in 2024, because of needing some more teams to fill some bowl spots. They were able to get into a bowl game in the Independence last year. And so there were some things to build on last year, and having a quarterback returning that you can have now. I mean, Sonny Cumbie has been around some great programs through the years and been a part of calling some really good offenses. Having the opportunity for another year with him and his staff for the quarterback is big. And you have another good in-state running back duo that you can kind of lean on, in Amari Wiggins and Amani Givens, the former Acadiana and Woodlawn Baton Rouge stars, respectively. And so there's some pieces there. And I didn't realize that in the preseason for Conference USA that I think the Bulldogs were like the 3rd likeliest odds voted on by the media, the 3rd likeliest odds to make a bowl game this season in the conference. And so there's some level of optimism from folks around that conference that this can be a step forward type season. And it does appear like some of those pieces are in place.
Yeah, it's also a little bit weird with so Delaware and Missouri State are not eligible for any postseason play because they're transitioning to FBS, and this is their first. There's so much weird stuff going on in college football right now. They are transferring into FBS, so those are 2 teams. Well, yes, it will be a win or loss no matter what happens when La Tech plays. There are 2 teams that aren't going to be in the mix for any postseason play. So it kind of, Louisiana Tech can finish above them, kind of regardless of what at least regardless of what the record is at the end of the year. But it adds a new little wrinkle into this Conference USA, especially with UTEP leaving after this year. So it'll be kind of the last year for a couple of teams in the Conference USA before they kind of move on. UTEP is going to the Mountain West Conference because, when I think of the University of Texas at El Paso, I think of mountains and the West. But anyway, this is where we are.
I mean, El Paso's out there, man. El Paso's so far west. Texas is so big.
I know, but still, it is Texas, and I think of Texas as big flat land. So, yeah. Anyway, a little bit less optimistic. I think ULL. I think not. I said ULL again. I'm sorry, guys. La Tech has a little bit of a rough time, but I think around 4-5 wins again is probably the most likely scenario. I hope I'm wrong on that, though.
I think they get a few more than that. I think we're going to watch them make it to a bowl game this season. And I think partially because looking around the conference, you have a level of confidence that you can be in every game and that you are, probably a favorite to win most of those games. And so when you can rely on getting a good set of wins, I mean, 5 or 6 wins potentially in conference is realistic. You have to feel good about getting to a bowl game. And that's, I not had Louisiana Tech very heavily on my mind most of this summer, but just as we got into August mode, starting to look a little bit more closely at some of their stuff, I realized I had more optimism in them this season than I had kind of blindly realized prior.
Absolutely. And we'll keep you updated on everything going on this season with all 4 teams that we just mentioned: Tulane, Louisiana, the Louisiana Cajuns, ULM, and La Tech. Also, obviously, LSU, and Southeastern and Southern, and the Saints. Everything. That's what we do here at PODnas. All right. So also, you can check out Louisiana versus all y'all for your one-stop shop to figure out what the heck is going on all over the state, especially with high school football going on. Jarrett does a great job covering the recruiting all throughout the state, and we'll be coming out here with more about that probably next week, week after, as we kind of get ready for this high school football season as well. Football's right around the corner. We can't wait, and we'll keep you updated all season long. That's what we're here to do at PODnas. Jared, you got anything else before we get out of here? I give them the socials.
No, that's about it, man. I think we talked about it previously. When August hit, I was feeling like I really could have used another week or so of summer. But now that we're getting into the back half of August, I'm getting increasingly excited by the day about the fact that it is indeed football season. Excited to be on some of these high school sidelines and these college press boxes and just see what all is ahead for us over these next several months, because it is never a dull football season in Louisiana, win, lose, or draw. And there are some great teams at certainly the high school and college levels, and we get our first look at this new Saints regime here sooner than later, kicking off their regular season. And so there's just an awful lot going on to keep tabs on. Again, win, lose, or draw.
Absolutely. And if you want to keep tabs on that, there are a couple ways to do it. You can follow Louisiana versus all y'all on this YouTube page that you're watching right now. Please like, subscribe, comment. Please share with other people. If you love us, if you hate us, share it with everyone you hate. I don't care. We get a watch either way. You can also go on Twitter and on Instagram, LA versus all y'all, and then find PODnas on Instagram, PODnas_LA. Follow us there. We're going to have a bunch of updates during the season. Really can't wait to get into it. Happy football season, y'all. It is back. PODnas.